Hello, guys. Thank you so much for viewing this podcast. My name is Vic Maravilla Romero, and I am here with Ricky Gibson, one of our guests, our final guest actually for the World Tour. These are special interviews that we were doing here on Riot Talk with international guests that we have had here on Riot Wrestling Alliance. But in this case, unfortunately, Kozby was not able to be here with us today. But I'm pretty sure that all the questions that he had, I'm gonna be able to ask these questions to Ricky, and of course to have a great show here. Hello, Ricky. How are you?
Very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on here with you guys.
It's a pleasure to have you here as well. We were expecting to have you here from a long time ago, especially because you are the current, with your partner, with Eddie, you are the current champions of the Tag Team Classics here on RWA. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that. But I mean, it's good to know that you're good, and it's very, very special for me to know as well that you wanted to be here. So welcome to this is your space, this is your house, and we are looking forward to have you in Costa Rica soon as well.
Very excited. A little background story. A couple of the creators of RWA came up here to Oregon in the United States and spent a little time with us. So we got to meet them and kind of figure out what they're all about. And since that day, I've been stoked to go to Costa Rica. We went to Costa Rica last summer, like you said, to win the championship of the tag division down there. It's a division, a lot of great talent down there, but really excited to come back down and defend our legacy.
That's something that we're looking forward as well, and especially because there's a new division here. At that moment, the tag division was not something. It was something that we were using for the shows. I mean, the tag team classic, of course, we hope to have it this year as well. But right now, and basically back in Star Crash, that was yesterday. We officially started the tag team division. So we would love you guys to have you here as well one more time. Of course, defending your title because you're the champions of the tag team classics. So basically, yes, it's very good to know that we're growing in that way, that we're creating, or in this case, we're opening new divisions for our talent and for the talent that it's coming from internationally. Having are having this space to shine here on RWA. I want to ask you something real quick here, Ricky. How was the start of your career? How did you got into wrestling?
Really popular question. I've been a fan of wrestling my whole life, since I was just a really young little kid. And luckily, I was able to surround myself with people that were involved in wrestling. I went to Portland Wrestling here in Oregon really early on as a young teenager. Met the right people and started the right path. And there was just a small little school with only two other people training at the time, and that's where I started training. I trained actually 6 days a week. The only reason we couldn't train on Sundays is because the gym was also used as a church. So we trained 6 days a week, and normally for like 4 or 5 hours. After a couple months, the owner of the gym became a good friend of mine, and he gave me a key. And man, we spent all night there. Sometimes we would train for hours, we would talk for hours, just anything about wrestling. And it kind of spiraled from there. It never got smaller. My love always got bigger, and I was able to pick the brains of some really influential people in the Portland wrestling scene. And I mean, honestly, people that have been all over the world. Guys that have main evented WrestleMania. I was able to pick their brain and learn from, and I couldn't be more happy about my career path.
That's actually a very good answer. Because on our end, in here in Costa Rica, as you may know, you have been here on the Star Wrestling Center. We do not train that much. I mean, at the end of the day, we have just a couple of days. Actually, they open another training on the same days, another schedule. So there's now a training from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. and there's another one from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in this case because there's people that was not able to train on the second hour or on the second hour we can call it like that. So in this case, there's people now on the gym that they are going. They hit the weights and then they go to train, or they do it backwards. They train first and then they go and hit the weights and train a little bit of cardio as well because it's very important. But on this gym that you started, you told us that it was used as a church on Sundays, but in there, did you have some implements like weights or something, or do you have to go other way to do that?
The gym that I wrestled at did have weights in there. It was the gentleman that started the school. His name was Tito Carrion. He wrestled all over the world as well. And he just wanted to start a little gym for the local community. It was actually a boxing, a weightlifting, and a wrestling gym. So people would come through and be boxing all day and lifting weights all day, and then wrestling was only at a certain time period. There's separate classes. So the class that I was involved in was obviously Americanized wrestling, and then sometimes they ran lucha style wrestling as well, which is probably what you're more familiar with in Costa Rica and Latin America. And they came through there, and there was a little bit more sporadic. They didn't have a scheduled time. It would just be a crew that would come in and train when they had the opportunity. And every now and then I got to train in there with them, so I got to learn a little bit of the Lucha Libre style, even though I don't necessarily use it today. But it was great to have those different styles. But to back up and answer your question, yes, they did have gym equipment. And yes, it was like 50 or 60 years old with like old rope and, rusty weights. And it really gave you that old school feel. But it was more than enough to get you going. So it was
Yeah,
good.
yeah. At the end of the day, I mean, here, especially here in Costa Rica, the academies normally they are not gonna have this combo. I mean, they can go to train, and if you wanna go to the gym, you need to go to another place. We have also people inside Riot that they go to another gym because it's closer to their homes or because their jobs as well. So it's good to have the two things on the same place, at least from my point of view, because not only you have the possibility to work on your wrestling style, as you mentioned, to work on your skills, on your abilities, but also it's good to have a good body, a strong body. I'm not talking about this sharp, made by God's body because we know that that's a little bit difficult, but I'm talking about an agile body and a strong body, a good heart to be able to run and jump for all the plays. So it's very good. It's very good. I'm very happy to know that you had a great start because here in Costa Rica there's a lot of wrestlers. I'm talking about someone like Kaiser as an example. They didn't had this. So to know that you on there on Oregon you had that, and that here in Costa Rica we're working, and most likely this idea of having this gym with the academy in the same place, it come from your end. So so yeah.
You say that. So I own a school here in Oregon now, Oregon Pro Wrestling School, and I always talk to my students about how lucky they have it because I've been through a lot of schools that don't have a lot of that stuff. And right now we have not only the wrestling ring and a full room dedicated to mat wrestling, we also have the weightlifting equipment. And I don't know if you can see here in the background, but that right there is also a sauna in our school. So
Oh,
recovery is a pretty big part of it as well. So people lift, people get in the sauna. There's an ice bath right next to the sauna that you can't really see, and then obviously wrestling. So it's a really big important part to be well rounded. You can't just do one of the things. You got to do all of the things, and I think a lot of people kind of miss that. And I obviously I went down to the training center that you're talking about in Costa Rica, and man, is it awesome? It's different than what we have here, obviously, but man, I would be spoiled to have that when I was first coming up, and especially after Tito's gym closed. To have a ring and the weight equipment there, and just the amount of people there that are putting in hard work and blood, sweat, and tears, it's incredible to see. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to come back down to the school again. That was a lot of fun.
and you will see now that you come back that we are swarming that gym.
Good.
We are
Good.
swarming it. Even people from, I mean, we have a couple of people on staff that were training on the Star Wrestling Center before, but for injuries or for different things that happen, they are not able to continue. But they still pay the tuition, or let's call it like that, for being on the Star Wrestling Center because they have the gym. They have the possibility to be on the gym as well. So even though they cannot practice wrestling, at the end of the day, they still have the good part of have a good physique or at least working on your physical condition. Um, I want to ask you something real that I was having here on my mind for a real long time. What made you want to have your own academy? Because at the end of the day, I've spoken here with other wrestlers. What they advise me is I want to give to my students what I couldn't have when I was training back. So, what made you change your mind and say, hey, I want to have my own academy?
That's a good thing, is like paying it forward. Two things: one, give them what I didn't have when I was first starting, but also give them what they deserve. um, wrestling got in Oregon. Wrestling got pushed to the back burner for such a long time, and people were doing it just to be complacent, and they weren't really working hard. And I wanted to be able to give a place in Oregon where people could come and put in work and have fun, but train hard and be a professional wrestler, not just an indie wrestler, but a professional wrestler. And uh, in 2001 is when I opened the school, and there was nothing in Oregon. In order to get in a wrestling ring right now, for me, I had to drive 4 hours to Washington to train. And it's a long drive, 4 hours there, 4 hours back, to train 3 hours in the ring. It's a long day just to get in the ring for a couple of hours.
You were basically driving. You were basically were doing a shift, a work shift. I mean, it's 4 hours,
Absolutely.
4 hours to go there, 4 hours to come back. So you were basically working on your car.
With the 3 hour lunch break to wrestle. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like my breaks and lunch are for wrestling, and the rest it's working on the car. But okay, you had this idea of I had to work, I have to go so far away to train. I want to give these students what I couldn't have, so let's continue with that.
yeah, I wanted that, and then I love teaching. I love seeing people maybe dealing with something to begin with, and then all of a sudden it clicks in their head and they realize how to do something. Whether that's how to do a move or how to get out of a hold, or see it all come together in their mind. It's a real feeling to me. I've always been a fan of that coaching and training aspect of it. And man, what better thing to coach and train than something that I literally spend more than half of my life doing?
That's right, that's right. I wanted why Oregon Pro Wrestling? You wanted to represent your place. You wanted to make people feel like home when they went to training. It was something like that.
That's it. Are you asking why the name
Yeah, why
Oregon
the
Pro
name?
Wrestling?
Yeah.
Honestly, just to keep it simple,
Okay.
I like to think if I were to Google something and I wanted to be a pro wrestler in Oregon, man, Oregon Pro Wrestling schools near me is probably what I type in, and
Okay.
that's what comes up. So honestly, that's kind of how it is. But I also didn't want any confusion about what we did. There's a lot of really cool wrestling schools out there with really cool names, but if you don't know what it is, you don't necessarily know what whatever that name is. You don't know what it stands for. There's no denying the Oregon Pro Wrestling School. That's what we do. Pro wrestling. That's it.
I have a question for something that happened this weekend. I just want a couple of thoughts from you about the tryout from New Japan, and I want to thank you because the name of Oregon Pro Wrestling was on the tryout as well. So I am really glad that you guys recognize the talent that we have here on this part of the world because not only in Costa Rica, I mean in other parts of Latin America as well, there's a lot of talent there that are doing the things right. So I just want to hear some of your thoughts about the tryout. When you realized that that we were gonna have this tryout, what were your first thoughts about it?
I've been coworkers and friends with Malcolm Flex or Flex Evans for a very long time, and he spent a good amount of time in at the Fale Dojo in New Zealand early this year, last year. And when he was talking about traveling around and doing this tryout and seeing the talent down there, the first thing I thought of was Costa Rica. They're going all over. First thing I thought of was Costa Rica though, because like I said, when we were down there, we were blown away with the talent and the diversity of what's down there. And there's so much potential. And it's I feel like the United States, we're almost spoiled with what we have with wrestling. There are so many companies to work for. Any given weekend across the United States, there's at least 50 different shows, and that's probably way underestimating. And that's probably every single day of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can travel around. With a 5 hour flight, you can be anywhere in the United States and wrestle. In Costa Rica, that's not the same. There's so few options down there, and really in surrounding areas, don't get those opportunities. Yet the talent down there was still as hungry, if not more hungry, than a lot of the wrestlers that are up here in the United States. So it was really cool to see the passion that comes from those kids, those people that are training down there, see where they've come without all the same opportunities that have been afforded to us up here. And we really wanted to give back and show that the talent can come from anywhere. And guys aren't stuck down there on an island. I mean, it's a flight, but it's a flight where you can get up to the United States and come train with us here at Oregon Pro Wrestling School. You can train over in New Zealand, which is a little bit longer of a flight, but the options are out there. And we wanted to be able to showcase that to your students and everyone down there, but also show the world that the talent's down there as well. It's not just in the United States.
That's totally true. I mean, at the end of the day, the scene here in Latin America, it was all concentrated in Mexico. And of course, I mean, it's a great style. They have great companies. They are in Lucha Libre style. They are the best in the world. We can definitely say that. But in this case, we were talking about this, and it's something that came to my mind at the moment that you advised me. Hey, it's the lucha libre style is more common in Latin America, and it's true for the wrestling part. I mean, for the people that train and what it's taught here in Latin America, it's the Mexican style. But people, the audience here in this part of the world, we love the American style. I mean, we love old attitude era. We love the ruthless aggression. There's a lot of people here that is fan of WCW as an example. I had here someone, I don't, oh, Travis Banks as an example. When we spoke with him, he advised us, hey, I am a WCW guy. I am a big fan of that. So at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy to see that the wrestling it's growing the way that it should have grown years ago in a worldwide type. Not only this company or this part of the world that has all the best wrestling and that has to build an empire about it and control everything. No, let's go ahead, have different styles, have different places doing their job, and if we can collaborate together, it's gonna be awesome. What do you think about the ego on wrestling, Ricky? Is it good for the wrestler? Is it not good? What do you think about it?
I think as a professional wrestler, if you don't have an ego, you're probably doing something wrong. Now, humility comes along with that ego. You have to be confident in what you can do and your abilities. I wouldn't be where I am without an ego, but I'm also humble enough to understand that I'm not the only one that's good enough to be where I am. People earn their spot, and once they've earned that spot, they deserve to have the ego that comes along with that. Can in a way, yeah, absolutely. I've seen a lot of times where ego can get in someone's own way, or it can cause them to lose opportunities, and that's where you kind of have to balance that out. But man, if you don't have an ego and you don't have faith in yourself, you probably won't go very far.
Yeah, we think that about the persona. That's right, about the character that you're making. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not able to build a persona that believes that it's the best, you will not be able to continue on this because you're gonna be, I mean, you're gonna have like this glass ceiling, that everything that you're gonna go get thrown at, it's gonna just go through it and get to you directly. So you have to build, yeah, like this persona that is different from the one that we normally are. But I believe as well that if you let that if you let that get to your own get to your personality, your normal personality outside wrestling, it could be dangerous as well. So that's why I was asking the question, because I'm the one that thinks as well as you, that the ego is an essential part of the wrestler, because without the ego, we're not gonna be able to continue with this. But at the end of the day, we have to keep humble, because at the end of the day, we're people outside the ring and we have a life outside the ring. Ricky, Oh,
Let me expand on that if you don't mind.
yeah.
So, um, a couple months ago, I spent some time with Dax Harwood, and one of the things that he said to me that really stood out was, "You are the only one that controls your career." So, ego inside and outside the ring. Let's step outside the ring for a minute. I'm the only one that controls what Ricky Gibson can do. You can tell me what you want me to do, but if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. I control, how my career path goes and what I do with that. And you have to have a little bit of an ego to understand, like, this is what's best for Ricky Gibson, and this is where I want to go. And don't have that ego and you don't have that self-confidence in yourself and you say, yeah, sure, whatever, then someone else is controlling your career. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to be in control of my own career. So that's where that ego comes in. That doesn't mean it's going to step in the way of what I really want to do. And if you put up those those egotistical roadblocks where people can't trust you or they don't know what to expect from you, then yeah, that can be a problem. But man, you gotta have some self-confidence in yourself running your own personal business. As a professional wrestler, you gotta have that ego.
Definitely, definitely. I totally agree with that. I wanted to ask you a question here that I just got to my mind. What were your first impression when Kaiser get to train with you guys? And at the end of the day, well, I was told a little story here about the guys going there to Oregon, and then Kaiser end up giving a class there. So I just want to hear from your end the whole story, if you can tell it to me.
So we had a blast. I've never met Kaiser or Gabriel when they came up here, so we just talked online, and I invited him in. I was like, "Hey, come by. We're doing a normal class on whatever day it was, and stop by and just see how it is." And that's kind of what it was. We started off. We were doing some training, and then Kaiser just had a couple things he wanted to point out, and it pretty much turned into him running it. We didn't do the whole class with him, but it was like we would just pick his brain a lot. Here's my mindset on training for pro wrestling. One person is going to have all of the answers. No one person knows all the moves. No one person knows all the styles. And there's so much to learn from everyone. So I tell all my students, and I keep this in mind for myself, you got to learn from everyone. Any opportunity to learn, you got to pick their brain. Even if it's not the best wrestler in the world, you can still learn something from them. So I'm taking those opportunities whenever I can. So when Kaiser jumped in the ring and I saw the opportunity for him to show some people some stuff that I don't normally do, I thought it was great. Uh, we did a couple things for the first time ever when Kaiser was up here for some of the students. There's a thing where as someone runs towards you, you can avoid them by throwing them outside the ring. They wind up landing on the apron, called a bandera. And very first bandera that he gave to one of my students, she almost broke her ankle on the outside. Luckily, she was totally okay. She just sat down for a little bit and iced it. She was good, no spraying or anything. But a very funny first moment for her. A little scary, but it was a lot of fun. And then the second thing, one of the funniest things in the world, everyone in wrestling knows what a chop is. You see Ric Flair do it, you see Chris Benoit do it. It is really one of the more painful things as far as strikes go, without just getting straight up punched in the nose. And Kaiser took one of my students back to the corner and chopped him so hard that he he had to step outside for a little bit and recuperate. So to this day, I think Zay still says that Kaiser has one of the worst chops he's ever felt. So it was fun to have Kaiser and Gabriel up there. We had a blast.
I can confirm because I was training for a couple of months. I have a severe injury on my knee, on my right knee, and just running, I felt the pain and I was not able to continue with the training. I spoke with my doctor and she said like, "No, dude, you cannot wrestle." I mean, I'm very sorry for you, but if you want to wrestle, you have to get surgery. I mean, or you get the surgery or you wrestle, but if you cannot do it without it. I mean, that's the point. And I
Yeah.
remember my first training that I was able to survive actually. Kaiser is gonna be watching this, so he know that I'm talking the truth. That I'm telling the truth. So we've end up the training completely, the physical part, then the ring part, and then at the very end of the training, Kaiser said to the students, "Hey guys, well we are done. You can go to your houses." And I got like I don't know, this courage on my end, and I told him like, and where are the chops? I want some chops. I mean, this is my first training. I want to feel welcomed here. And he chopped me. He was the first one. He was the most painful one. And then there was other five teammates, another five or four guys there on the. One of them is Tyler Huck. He shot me as well. So it was really fun. And I can confirm to you and to the guys that have not been chopped by Kaiser that he has a very heavy hand in order to do
Yes, he
that.
does.
I wanna check on your experience on Riot. I mean, how was it? How did you feel when you fought? Because you met Kaiser and Gabriel there, and when they went there, this was not a reality at that point. They were actually, what I know from Gabriel, or what I got from him, is that they went to there just to learn how your academy worked in order to have an idea of how to start the academy here, because they wanted to do something different, and as we were talking before, to give to the students a different experience. But then you have to make the comeback here and come to Costa Rica in order to train with us, to be on the Star Wrestling Center. As you gave a class as well, you gave a seminar. So I wanna hear about everything. I wanna hear about your experience since the first moment that you put a foot here in Costa Rica.
So we flew in Costa Rica. It was a long day, early morning and late night, because it's quite a trip from here to there, with a layover in Los Angeles. Um, to Costa Rica pretty late. I think it was a Thursday night when we got there. It was pretty late in the night, and Kaiser actually picked us up from the airport and drove us to the hotel. Very difficult because I don't speak Spanish very well. Very little Spanish, enough to where if you slowly talk to me, I can probably understand. But me speaking it, just out of the question. So we checked into the hotel without knowing how to communicate with the guy. A lot of translations with my phone. Hotel was absolutely beautiful. There was a great outdoor swimming pool there, which I think is the only outdoor swimming pool in a hotel in Costa Rica. It was amazing. The staff was phenomenal there. Very beautiful people all over Costa Rica. So that part was phenomenal. Friday, some owners of Riot came and picked us up and showed us the country. Basically, drove us all over, showed us where to eat, where to get some beautiful strawberries and cream,
Yeah.
some coffee. The food was incredible. I know you're asking about wrestling, but this trip
No,
was
no,
way
I
more about
was
food for
actually
us.
no, no, I was actually asking for the whole experience. I mean, I want to know everything. Of course, wrestling is very important. This is this is the official podcast of a wrestling company. Of course, we have to talk about it, but this is the podcast for you to talk about whatever you want to talk. So, this experience that you're giving me to it's gold for me.
So it was about a 2 hour drive from the hotel to where we were eating, and it's not just a 2 hour drive there. We stopped along the way and we made some pit stops and whatnot. But it was a lot of fun. It was also a very hot day that day. So here's a good story for you. My tag partner Eddie was riding in the back seat with me, and about 5 minutes from the restaurant, I noticed that there was a heat seaters in the back, so a button that would heat up the back seat if you're cold. Well, it was a very warm day, but I thought it'd be funny to turn on Eddie's seat warmer. So I turned it on, and I kind of forgot. We parked, we went in the restaurant, we ate, we got back in the car, and mind you, the seat warmer still turned on because it was just the button. So, but I forgot about it at this point. And it wasn't until we were driving all over. We went to a Starbucks with a beautiful view and a waterfall, and it was amazing. And we goes down because it's hot, and all of us in the car, kind of like, "Ooh, it's warm in here," but Eddie was like pouring sweat. He's like, he took his jacket off. He's like, "It's hot in here. I don't get it. It's this Costa Rica air is just warm." And then, like 5 minutes from the hotel room, which again, we're like 2 hours into this trip. 5 minutes from the hotel room, I forgot, and I remembered that I turned that seat warmer on, and we had a real good laugh when he realized that the only reason he's been so hot this whole time is because I turned his butt warmer on, and he's just pouring sweat this whole time, just sticky and gross. So that was probably my favorite rib from that whole trip. After that, we went to another restaurant the next day, which was the day that we did the tryout or the
The
seminar in
seminar.
Costa Rica. The hotel is literally like across the street from the training facility. So I got there and instantly it's I'm pouring sweat because it's hot in there. There's no AC or fans. Um, I I think I sweat through my shirt before we even started training. That's how intense it was. But we ran some drills. I think we went for like 3 or 4 hours. We ran some drills that the kids down there have never been through before, and we got to kind of assess their current skill level. Based on skill level, we put together some other drills and some things for them to do to spar and go through. And we just had an absolute blast. We love training people. We love tag team wrestling, so it's really easy for us to talk for a very long time about it. Many intricate details that people don't often think about or practice. And it was amazing to see the talent down there. Everyone was super receptive. Even the people that didn't speak English when we were talking, we went slow so someone could translate for them, and they were all very grateful. And man, it was an absolute blast. Stay for the show. Uh, Everyone was working hard to get the show going, and that's something you don't really see too often. Everyone that's involved in the show is all putting in work. There's no one sitting back and like, I'm too good to help out or too good for this or that. Everyone was busting their butt to get that show up and running. It was an absolute blast. The fans were phenomenal. Even when they were booing us and yelling at us, they were still loud and incredible. There's drums in the crowd. There was horns in the crowd. If you're watching this and you've only seen American indie wrestling, man, Costa Rica was night and day difference. People were loud and screaming and on their feet. It never slowed down. Uh, as a performer, as someone in there fighting for my life, it keeps me going. It's a lot of fun and it's unmatched. It was stellar, and the crew down there took care of us way more than I could have ever expected. It was phenomenal.
Well, that's really good to know because at the end of the day, that's what we try to do here. I mean, that if you want, I mean, the way I explain it to some people that comes here, actually, we had Sofia Castillo here. She is a wrestler there in the United States, and she was a guest here on the tryout. And I told her like, our main goal is that you as a guest would like to come back to here to our company because at the end of the day we take care of you, we try to give you the best of our people here that actually it's as you're mentioning, it's giving the 1000%, not the 100, the 1000%, so everything goes the right way. And I'm pretty glad to know that you enjoyed the show, that you enjoyed our crowd. Our crowd is very special. I mean, I've been in Mexico. I've saw wrestling in Mexico, and I've saw wrestling in the United States. Not personally me in there, but I have seen shows on the internet on the United States, and the states have a lot of wild crowds. I mean, Chicago is a wild crowd as an example, but Costa Rica, it's like mini Chicago. It's like mini
Yeah.
Chicago here. I mean, people, it's crazy. They love the wrestlers they love. They hate the ones they hate, but it's just on the show. I mean, after the show, if they see someone that they would like to take a picture, they are gonna go and do it. Or they I mean, you guys saw it. I mean, at the end of the day, they boo you on the show, but after the show, they love you. They want to know you. They want to take a picture with you. They want to have a few words with you. So that's awesome. I want to ask you another question related to the seminar because it's something that actually Gabriel told us the time that we were talking about this. Do you know Dragon Ball Z, right? Okay. Do you remember that when Goku is going to fight Frieza, he is training on a ship that has the capability of turn up the gravity? So I was going to ask you that when you came here to Costa Rica, did you turn up the gravity for the kids here?
Like I did?
I'm sorry?
Like I turned up the gravity?
Yeah, I mean, did you turn up the level for them? Like, do you feel that the seminar that you gave them it was harder than the normal training they get?
You asked. I can't speak for sure. However, I know that we went in with the intent of making people really tired. So I don't believe in spending the entire seminar just wearing people out and doing cardio. I think that's a waste because you can do that on your own. But there is something about with doing a seminar and making people really work hard and push their own limits. I won't push someone past their own limits, but I will push them to their limits and hope that they push past. Because I want to see what they're capable of. And I think far too often as human beings, we all think, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to stop now, when I could probably go a lot longer than we think we can. So yes, we worked pretty hard. We were all sweating. We were all breathing heavy. We had to take a couple little water breaks, but yeah, we absolutely turned up the intensity and made people work hard. But we also ended with slow skill building. That's not just making them breathe hard, but just really good quality skill building that they can take away.
That's actually awesome. In this case, well, what I normally tell to Gabriel when we talk about the seminars, because normally the we call them the big four to the bosses. So what we tell them to the big four, or what they tell us, is we normally advise to the trainer that it's going to give a seminar here, to another wrestler, to a guest, that it's going to give a seminar here, to kill them. I mean, basically to kill them. And what I give back, or my thought back about it, is if you can survive that, you can survive anything that you are gonna have on the path of your career. So yes, I mean, and I'm pretty sure, and I know that you're pretty sure as well, that the tryout seminar, the tryout physical training and that part was even harder, because what they are looking for is that, as you mentioned, let's keep breaking our limits. Let's keep going another level. Let's keep being better. That's what we have to do in here. That's the only way that we can still say we are the best in here. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty glad that did you have a couple of surprises there, like someone that you saw that you were not expecting to have a very good level and actually have it?
Man, I feel bad mentioning it even, but yeah, of course, there were some people that shocked me. Here's my my philosophy on that. So a lot of people can watch pro wrestling and think, yeah, that looks easy, I can do that. Um, and then they realize how painful the things we do are. So there's that aspect of it. Like it's painful to get slammed on the mat. It's painful to get punched in the face. Like those things hurt. And a lot of times watching wrestling, you don't think about that. You just think, oh, I could probably do that. So pain is one thing. Way different. Almost everyone that I've ever talked to that thinks they can do wrestling, and then they get in there and realize how much cardio you need. Your heart beats so fast, your lungs pump air so quickly. A lot of people throw up just from pure exhaustion of running the ropes. You don't think that, but it's every muscle in your body's working, and when that many muscles are working at one time, you're going to get worn out real fast, and people don't realize that. Uh, and so I like to push those limits, because if you get tired in a match, then you get sloppy, you get hurt, you hurt someone else, things don't look good. You can't. A professional wrestler cannot get exhausted in the ring and be a professional wrestler. It's just not the case. So if you want to do this, if you want to be a pro wrestler, you have to get to a point where nothing can make you exhausted. You have to be able to fight through that. So when we were down there, I won't say which one of those four, but one of those four said, "Hey, kill them, make them breathe
Make
heavy,
them
and
suffer.
not be able to walk. Yeah, not be able to walk the next day." Um, yes, that's absolutely how we started out. Again, I'm not pushing anyone past their limits, but I wanted to see where their limits were and see who would tap out and who wouldn't. Absolutely no one stopped. Everyone that started finished the class, but there was some people that really stood out. Blaze is one of them. A lot of times looks can be deceiving, and when you first look at Blaze, you go, okay, big kid, probably works pretty hard, probably a great grappler, wrestler, can slam people around, but you don't necessarily think like this guy can jump or this guy can roll, this guy's agile, and he surprised me. He was phenomenal.
Do you know,
Tony Noah.
before you
Yep.
continue, do you know that Blaze is now our new Open champion?
That this morning I was looking at your Instagram and I saw that and I was very excited for him. I know he deserves it. He works hard. Every time I've seen him wrestle, he works hard and absolutely kills it. Tony Noah was another guy that stood out, who right now is your heavyweight champion. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yep. Um, So he was another guy that just the intensity that he put in there was unmatched. It was phenomenal. He took everything absolutely serious. There was no phoning it in. There was no walking through anything. He went, and I absolutely loved it. Ramses is another one that absolutely killed it in that tryout. Man, I'm probably forgetting like 5 or 6 different people. Dragon King was another one that absolutely killed it. And he gave me a shirt because I sweat through mine. So shout out to Dragon King for providing me a shirt that's actually hanging on the wall right outside of this door over here. I'm forgetting so many people, and I feel bad about it. But man, so many people surprised me, and not even just surprised me because they worked hard, but like their physical abilities were way better than what I thought they would be based on just coming down here with no info. So a lot of people really surprised me.
No, at the end of the day, and I'm very clear with this kind of questions. I mean, when I ask these questions, it's not because I don't think that there is people in there that is not getting to the level. What I ask these questions is because, of course, I want those people to know what the people outside that have come here in Costa Rica think about them because they deserve to know it. But also for the people that is here and that you didn't mention, I mean, don't feel bad. You're doing it great. I mean, we've been talking about this seminar for like 10 or 20 minutes, and you have got all of you have got a very good review. So don't worry, you have been doing a great job. The only thing is that, of course, sometimes there's gonna be people that could have a better performance at that moment, and of course it stand out a little bit better. But I'm pretty sure that everyone did a great job, not only in this seminar and on the other seminars. Actually, they're having tomorrow. They are having a seminar with the Brian Kendrick as well, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna get killed as well. But but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I know that when you're mentioning names, it's because they are the first names that come to your mind in this particular case. But at the end of the day, Ricky is impressed with RWA in general, even with the crowd.
There's no one at that seminar that didn't work hard. There was 2 people that were injured and still showed up to the seminar, and they couldn't work through it, but they took notes, they were listening, they encouraged their teammates. There was no one there that disappointed me, absolutely no one. So if I didn't say a name, that like I truly mean that everyone's impressed me. There's always going to be a couple people that stand out. So, and
Of course.
remember, this was almost a year ago, so I'm probably forgetting some people that stood out, and I've lost it since then. So I'm
Of
sorry, but
course.
yeah, no,
No, and I'm
everyone was
pretty sure
great.
that when you see them back, you will recognize their talent, of course. And they have grown a lot. I mean, they have uh, every every I've been in this company for a year, actually. I became a year like 2 or 3 months ago. I don't remember. 2 months ago to be exact. And in this time, I've seen them improve their abilities to a point that it's a different wrestler from a point of view on 1 year before. So there's a lot of people that I'm pretty sure that if it didn't stand out, I mean, they did a great job, but if they didn't stand out when you come back, you will see and you will say, I mean, oh wow, what an improvement, what a growth. Because they started good. I mean, at the end of the day, they started with good skills. They have a good skill in ring, but they are like perfection in it. So in this particular case, I'm pretty sure that when you come back and we are all Costa Rica, all the fans from RWA, we are very expecting for you to be here one more time. Of course, we understand there's a lot of things involved in order to have you here, but of course we want you to be back not only because we love the job that you guys do, but also because we want you to see in person, in first person, how that improve has been done. I want to ask you a question here that I've been thinking about like for 30 minutes, but I just have been like backing it up. What do you like better tag team wrestling than one-on-one wrestling, or do you like wrestling in general? Or what's your preference in these kind of situations?
I love all kinds of pro wrestling. Uh, Tag team wrestling over the past years has really taken off for me. So I love singles wrestling. I haven't had a singles match in Yeah. So it's almost only tag team wrestling for me. As far as what I prefer to watch, any of it. I'll watch tag team wrestling. I'll watch singles wrestling. It doesn't really matter to me. I love watching wrestling. I love seeing how people can do moves or escape from moves or move around in the ring. All of that. I love all of it. But there's something special about tag team wrestling that is almost fantastic. It's so good to watch. There's so much going on. There's so much to think about. You've got someone that's got your back, but you've also got to keep an eye on two different people instead of one person in the ring. It's a challenge. It's a skill. It's my favorite. Now, that's not to say that I won't ever do singles again, but right now the only thing that I'm focused on is tag team wrestling for sure.
All right, all right. This year, what's coming for Ricky?
That's a big question. There's a lot of really cool things in the fire right now. Some of them I can't talk about too much, but let's just talk about some of the big ones. So obviously, can't wait to come back to Costa Rica. That's somewhat in the plans for this year. Just waiting to nail down that date. Um, Defy up in Seattle. Just started working with Progress out of the UK, and some really cool stuff coming from that. Defy is always one of our favorites to wrestle for. Prestige Wrestling has a big event coming up here in Portland in April at the Roseland Theater. One of the all-time greatest shows of the year is at the Roseland Theater. Talk about wild crowds. The crowd of the Roseland Theater is another level as well. Very similar to what you see down in Costa Rica, just maybe without the drums and the horns, but just as loud, just as many people throwing streamers or whatever. But you never know. There's a lot of really cool stuff coming up. There's a lot of other companies that we have some dates for that will be announced soon. But who knows? Anything happen anytime. So
Is it? Well, it's a little bit difficult, right? Because of the schedules, because of this. But my dream match, as of right now, would be Midnight Heat against FTR. Would you like that?
absolutely. I know Dax very well. I know Cash a little bit. I mean, they are one of the all-time best tag teams ever. They're definitely the best tag team in the world right now. There's so much to learn from them. I want to test our skills against theirs. I believe that we can. I believe we can put up a pretty good fight against FTR. But just as four guys that love tag team wrestling and love professional wrestling and take it serious, and we all four of us want to be the very best, and that's something that you don't always see. There's some people that are just kind of content with being where they are, and someone like Dax has been in wrestling for almost 20 years. Combination FTR has been around for 10 years. And just something about always striving to get better and never just kind of being complacent with where you are. That's our philosophy. That's their philosophy. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are screaming for that match. So, yeah, someday it'll happen. Who knows? Maybe it'll happen this year.
I'm gonna be praying for that. I'm gonna be praying for that because I know it's gonna be a hell of a match. But yes, I mean, as mentioned, I mean it's a little bit difficult because of scheduling, because of companies and everything. But I'm pretty sure that I mean, talking about the possibilities is the one that has a very big one. My final question before we move forward to the other two final sections that we have in here on Riot Talk is why the 80s is the best decade in the history of humankind.
Guys, what? I'm sorry?
Why the 80s are the best decade on the history of mankind.
Um, that's a really good question. I don't know what it was about that time period. Uh, I don't want to say I'm a historian for wrestling because my memory is always not that great, but I love watching old wrestling. I love finding footage of like the first time things happened. The first O'Connor roll, like a move that we take for granted today, but the first time it was ever done. You know, Luther's wrestling and all those like I love old wrestling, but man, the '80s really, really honed it in, and there was something exciting about it. It was like '70s was a little bit more gritty. If you watch '70s wrestling, it was a little bit more hard hitting, maybe a slower pace, but man, the passion was there. The '80s the pace picked up, but the passion was still there. The fans were crazy and wild. The wrestlers' personalities were bigger in the 80s than they were in the 70s. But everything was still very sports oriented. It was these wrestlers want to be the very best, and so they're fighting these other wrestlers. The 90s, and I'm not even trying to knock the 90s, but the 90s were a lot more about the bigger personalities and the stories rather than the wrestlers. Um, so there's just something special about the 80s there that was true quality wrestling, um, without too over the top yet. And I don't want to say everything was over the top since then. I think even the last 5-10 years, we've seen a lot of really good wrestling. It's just different than what it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. It's different, but it's phenomenal. Like it's like comparing a comedy movie to a drama movie to an action movie. They can all be great, but they're all very different, and that's okay. You don't have to like comedy movies if you only like dramas. You don't have to like action movies if you only like rom-coms. But that's no denying that there's still a lot of options out there for a lot of different people. Is the 80s the best ever? Probably in my mind, but again, it's personal opinion. I think there's a lot of people that could definitely argue with that.
I mean, for me as well, even though I'm a 90s boy, I am a 94 model. So in this case, I love music from the 80s. I love movies from the 80s. I love the style. I love the graphics. I love everything that it's from the 80s. So when I knew that you guys were coming here with all your 80s style and these neons and all these graphics and everything, I was very happy. And I was very happy as well with the song from Midnight Trouble last year. It was a Billy Idol song. It's very 80s. I mean, there couldn't be anything that could be more 80s than Billy Idol. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why music from the 90s is good, but tends to be forgotten. Music from the 2000s and from the 2010s are forgotten as well. Music that came up on 2020 is no longer remembered, but music from the 80s is still sound on the radio. You still see video clips from the 80s, people, movies, etc. So yeah, I believe myself as well that the 80s is the best decade that we had on human and on the human history because I mean everything is so cool about it. Um,
Agree
okay.
with that.
If someone, last question, so we can move forward to the no disqualification questions from the crowd. If someone of Oregon is watching this podcast and they want to go and train on your academy, can you invite them to do it?
So, OregonProWrestling.com. You can also check out social media. All of it's at Oregon Pro Wrestling. We accept any new students, all genders, any age above 18, so 18 and over. Uh, Students from 18 all the way up to mid 50s. So anyone can do this. As far as someone that is already trained and wants to wrestle, my doors are open. I love being able to see new wrestlers come in, people that I don't have to start from square one with, but someone that maybe just wants to fine tune their craft or hone in their craft or really just get another perspective or just be a little bit more. I absolutely love that. I invite everyone to come down, reach out to me personally if you want. Check out the website. Just come visit us. All that. Like I love visitors. I love people to be able to come in here and maybe share some knowledge that they have. Any of those options. Our doors are open for sure.
And the same goes for the RWA guys. If they want to go sometime, Oregon's doors are open. Oregon Pro Wrestling's doors are open for you guys to go and share your experience as well.
Isn't for everyone. So if you don't belong to the Star Academy, close your ears. Anyone that's currently training with you guys at the Star Academy in Costa Rica, come up here, no fee for training. Your first session's free. So I know it's a trip, but you get up here, man. I'll let you in the school. I'll take you to some shows. I love you guys down there. So you're all welcome.
It's gonna worth it. I mean, it's a long trip, but it's gonna worth it at the end of the day. Okay, Ricky, thank you so much for this little interview. I mean, I learned a lot from you. I admire you a lot. I follow you on social media. You follow me back. So we don't speak like every day, but we keep in contact some way. So as mentioned before, I'm pretty glad to have you here. I know that Cosby would be more than glad to be here because the guy loves you. But I mean, in this case, unfortunately, it wasn't possible. Guys, we're gonna move forward right now and we're gonna give you the control of this podcast to you, to the crowd, to the one that is watching at home. And we're gonna go to the no disqualification questions. These questions, Ricky, just for you to be advised, this is very quick. I'm gonna ask you a series of questions that the crowd send us to our social media. You can, I mean, you can take your time to answer them, but I'm not gonna like answer back. There's not gonna be like a response because we need to move forward. And then we're gonna go to the kickouts that it's even faster because it's one word and you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. It could be a phrase or it could be just a word. But let's go with the crowd because I know they are very excited and very expecting of the questions that they send you today. So there's a couple of questions that were already answered, but you can just like summarize what you said before. What was your impression of the RWA crowd?
Top notch, almost unmatched.
Almost done. Okay. Was RWA more than you expected?
I had really high expectations because of talking to Kaiser and Gabriel, and I was not let down. So, no, it wasn't more than I expected because my expectations were so high. But I was blown away with the school, the show, the talent, the ownership, everything.
This is one that I. This is the next question is one that I didn't wanted to ask because I didn't want it to steal it from the crowd. But it's a very popular question. I know that you're gonna laugh when you hear it. How or did you knew Eddie Pearl and why you chose him as your tag team partner?
Is that the question?
Yeah. How or did you meet Eddie Pearl and why you chose him as your tag team partner?
Pearl was training at a local school here in Oregon. 2016, I met him and I saw his dedication to improvement. From the day I met him, he was a stellar athlete and he fine tuned his craft and he cared so much about it that I knew there was something special there. I started traveling and I actually just brought him along for the ride. So we weren't tag partners. He was just along for the ride with me at first. Um, and then eventually we got the opportunity to tag together. And man, I couldn't imagine tagging with anyone else because he is so dedicated to pro wrestling. He's so almost obsessed with improvement, not only of his own skills but of wrestling in general. And you can't do that.
That's correct. You cannot buy that on a store. I mean, you have to born with that. You have to be born with that. All right. Who's your main inspiration in wrestling?
Oh man, I have so many over the years. They've always changed. Piper is one of those guys that I got to work with here at a young age. I think it was 17 when I first met Roddy Piper, and maybe even 16 when I first met him. And he was someone that I not only did I respect in the ring, but outside of the ring as well. He was a really good person. Even with someone, I mean, he main evented WrestleMania 1, and yet he was still humble enough to take time to talk with me, a 16-year-old kid just learning to wrestle. So he's one of them, my all-time inspirations in and outside of the ring. Um, I've really been a big fan of DDP. Not only is wrestling when I was a kid, I was a big fan, but someone that has stayed around pro wrestling, not pushed himself past what he knew he was capable of, but still helping people. I mean, if you've seen any of his videos where he's helped rehab people like Jake Roberts and Scott Hall and other like fans that have reached out to him and he's help them lose weight and gain mobility. So that's something that has really stuck out to me. Uh, I have a list just forever long. Bobby Eaton, as far as the professional wrestler, I've never met him, but as far as his skills in the ring, a huge inspiration for me. I take a lot of stuff from him and Dennis Condrey. Um, Forever about this, but let's move on.
Okay, okay, no problem. What means tag team wrestling for you?
Wrestling is um, it means the world to me. I watch if I'm ever on a show and there's other tag matches. I guarantee I will watch those matches. I want to learn from them. I want to help them out where I can. Um, I want to get better. I want them to get better. A team wrestling can main event. It can absolutely be a spectacle. In fact, the show we're on next month in April, we are the main event, tag team wrestling, because it can be important as long as it's made important. And when you have people that care about it, it's unmatched as far as entertainment goes.
Nice. What is the best part of being a professional wrestler?
Um, you know, for someone that doesn't get it, they'll never understand. But for someone that does, no explanation is needed. The the feeling after a show where you're sore, you're maybe even hurt, but it was just so fun that it was worth it. I This is all I do. I'm a pro wrestler by trade, so I don't have another job. I run a school and I travel and wrestle. That's my life. So I watch wrestling when I'm not wrestling. I study wrestling when I'm not at the school. I teach wrestling. My students text me all the time. I it consumes my life.
Okay, no, but it's great. I mean, at the end of the day, I know a lot of people that it's like that. I mean, I had a phase of my life when I used to watch everything on wrestling, but then it's so hard to keep on all these stories, to know all the names, that you have to to choose what you like the most. But actually, I mean, if I'm on the United States as an example, I'm on Oregon, and there's a company running a show there, I'm gonna go there. I want to see it. I want to watch it. I mean, and also it was very fun because my parents were going to the UK like 2 or 3 years ago, and the first thing that they asked me, if I went there, what would I like to do? What would be the activities I would like to do? I told them I want to go to Progress Wrestling. That's the first thing that I would like to do. So they tried to go there. They wouldn't be able to access the show, which is a shame because I know that they would have loved it. My parents are not very fans of wrestling, but they enjoy it. So when they see a show or something, they're gonna be part of it. So yes, I mean I'm pretty sure that they would have got a blast there, but unfortunately they were not be able. But yeah, I understand you because I think on wrestling every day of my life. What is the key to get success in pro wrestling? No, there's no
That's the
key.
key. No, I know it's simple. Hard work.
Hard work.
That don't quit is like there are times when things aren't going your way, when things hurt, you get injured, or you're not on shows or whatever, and just don't quit. I've talked to a lot of people, and one of the keys to success that they've mentioned to me, and just a way to stay in it, is success isn't linear. It's not like you're always going up more successful. There's some good days, there's some bad days, and some good months, some bad months, some good years, some bad years. Just don't quit. Just keep working at it. Don't give up. Stay humble, yet keep that ego.
This question is from someone that has been following your career since you were here. So, did you know Tony Khan? How is he if you met him?
I've only met Tony once. I can't really speak to how he is, but just from everything that I've ever heard of people that work for him, he's an absolute blast. He's a loving guy. He cares about his talent. He cares about his product and his show. He wants to make everyone happy. Like I, it, it's hard to be a good guy in wrestling because you can get walked on. But from my experience and from what people have told me, Tony Khan is one of those good guys.
No, I actually we can see it from the outside as well that he tries to take care of his product of his company like if it was a family, which I believe is the right way to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, and something that you mentioned that it's very hard for him and we tend to criticize him about it. It's that he wants to make everyone happy. I mean, he wants to give everyone their space, and sometimes, of course, you don't have enough time in order to give them that spotlight. But he definitely take care of his people. I mean, there's big talent, big names that have signed recently for him. So I mean, it's not only the money. What I think that it's his success. It's not only that he has a lot of money. It's because he is a great person as well.
I, it's so easy to criticize from the outside, and I'm not even defending anything right now. Just as a blank slate, I'm saying that nothing we do and nothing that Tony does or that any other owner of a company does is easy. And hindsight is always easy. It's always easy to say, "Oh, I would have done this." Well, Tony thinks the same thing. You know, owners of RWA think the same thing. I think the same thing after my matches. Like, oh, I should have done that. I could have done this better. It's easy to criticize. It's hard to do. So for anyone that has any criticism, sure, share it, but just understand it's not as easy as we all think it is.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you have the right to give your opinion. I mean, you can tell it, but I mean, you have to understand that there's people that is not gonna agree with you at the end of the day. So you cannot get mad about it as well. And also, you cannot think that your opinion is the 100% true. I mean, at the end of the day, as you mentioned, we can criticize some things that are not good for us, but at the end of the day, you talk to other people and they say, no, the guy is awesome. I mean, it's awesome to talk to him. It's awesome when he contacts you in order to get a contract or something like that. I mean, at the end of the day, the guy is a good person, and that's what matters the most. And we have saw that on the rough batches that AEW have had in the past years. He had been a great leader for them. He has stepped up. He has recognized the mistakes that they have made, and they have tried to make them right. So at the end of the day, I mean, I cannot criticize someone that I don't know personally, and especially when it's a person that it's helping other people to make their dreams come true on these wrestling careers. This is the last one, and it's beautiful, this question. What is your favorite wrestling move?
Oh, favorite wrestling move. I don't know if I have one. Whichever one gets the job done. that's hard to. That's hard to. We have three moves that we, as a tag team, really like to do. The first one is called the backstabbeth, which is the greatest name for a wrestling move of all time, but great move as well. Eddie does a Russian leg sweep onto my knees, me on the back. So back cracker Russian leg sweep, I think is great, very effective. We do it's called the hot seat. Eddie gets the guy in a backslide. I hit a second rope leg drop on him, so he can't protect himself. Matched. And then the last one is the Midnight Ride. I put him up on my shoulder for power slam. Eddie comes through with the neck breaker. I think any one of those three are my favorite, but it's interchangeable any given day.
Okay. Oh no, that's good. I mean, my favorite one as an example is the power bomb. I love all the power bombs that exist, and if there's a slight of difference, oh my God, I love it. But yeah, it actually very good moves or pretty good ones, the ones that you mentioned. All right, let's go to the final section, Ricky. This has been a blast. This has been a ride completely.
It
So
has.
let's go ahead and finish it the right way with the kickouts. As mentioned before, this is a really quick section on which I'm gonna to provide you some words, some terms, and you're gonna give me back the first thing that comes to your mind. It can be a word or it can be a phrase. The first kickout it's gonna be Oregon Pro Wrestling,
The place to be in Oregon.
Midnight Heat,
Team of the world today.
RWA,
Oh, top notch Latin American wrestling.
Partnership,
Important.
Tag Team Wrestling,
Best in the world.
Defy World Tag Team Championship. I'm sorry.
those titles mean more to me than almost anything else. Because Defy was a place that we wanted to be for a very long time, and when we finally got that call and got those belts, that was a career highlight for me.
Oregon.
Uh, Formerly dead, out of the park with wrestling.
Midnight Express.
One of the all-time greatest.
Progress Tag Team Championship.
Oh,
Thank you very much. And one bonus question from our guy Kozby. Thank you very much. He will close this podcast or this part of the podcast. Did you enjoy the Midnight Trouble caps? Did you like them?
I I don't know if I was wearing it, but he gave it to me after the show. I keep it here in my school. I wear it all the time. Yes, I absolutely love it.
Thank you very much for this interview, Ricky. I'm very glad to have you here one more time. I will not be tired of telling this. I really admire you. I really appreciate all the good words, all the good comments about our RWA because, as you mentioned, we're working really hard in here to make something, to make Costa Rica wrestling part of Costa Rica history. So at the end of the day, I really appreciate. I don't know if you have a final message for all our viewers, for the people that it's watching home, for your students.
My final message. And first of all, I want to thank you for taking your time out of your day to do this with me. I know a Monday afternoon is normally not ideal for everyone, but it's what works great for me because it's right before training starts. Here's my message. I want Costa Rica wrestling. I want RWA to grow really big. I think it's really cool for me to see something from its idea stage to making history in Costa Rica. So I've been following the account. I follow everyone from RWA because I want to see their progression as well. It's super exciting for me to see what you guys are doing and what you are personally doing with the podcast and everything. It's my pleasure to be here. And without your support and without you guys having us come down there, we couldn't be who we are as Midnight Heat. So um, I'm not always a nice guy. I don't always say nice things, but I mean this when I say this. Like, it's an absolute pleasure to be with RWA in any form or capacity. And even if I'm watching from afar, I can't wait to see where you guys can go.
Thank you very much for that, Ricky. And well, I hope that today you have a great training session. I hope that if you have any show this weekends as well, you have a great blast on those shows as well. I know the wrestling life is hard because you have to be traveling a lot, and of course, I hope you have a great trip as well to any of the places that you have to travel to. And well, what every person that loves our RWA here in Costa Rica wants to tell you, and you know already, we are expecting to have you here one more time, to have Eddie here one more time as well, because we had a blast last time on Midnight Trouble when you guys won the trophy. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. You at home, you viewers, you our people, the one that continues making us grow, making us better. Thank you very much for going to our shows, for watching this podcast, for watching After Riot, and see you guys. Bye bye.